Spunk Podcast, spunking all over the place.
Today we are joined by Mahbod Moghadam, who is a pianist, entrepreneur, and investor with a knack for making waves wherever he goes. Mahbod's career began after he graduated of Yale and Stanford with a law degree and spent several months of his life in France. Moghadam was one of the internet's first major entrepreneurial figures, when his break from work allowed him to get started on a venture to co-create and lead the development of Rap Genius, known today as Genius.com, the biggest website for annotating lyrics, documents, books, stories, poems, and even news articles. Genius has become a prominent music site, hosting a famous series of online interviews with major music celebrities under Mahbod's general direction, before he left for bigger ventures. Mahbod led the founding of Everypedia, a blockchain version of Wikipedia that is more decentralized than its predecessor, and remains one of the largest online wikis without major restrictions on content, allowing for a broader share of less partisan information to be shared. His experiences with Everypedia led him to found HelloDoge, the first crypto-based social media platform that allows all users to monetize their posts by giving them ad-sponsored crypto shares for posting alone. HelloDoge aims to create the world's first and goofiest decentralized blockchain site, making monetary gain easier for content creators. Today on Spunk, we'll be exploring Mahbod's recent work and delving into what makes him tick. Mahbod is a force to be reckoned with in the tech industry, having co-founded one of the most innovative and groundbreaking companies in recent history. He's also a gifted musician with a passion for classical piano. Mahbod has made a name for himself as a true original, always pushing boundaries and exploring new frontiers of tech. His edgy personality has gotten him in enough trouble to be a perfect fit for this podcast, and he's constantly on the lookout for the next big thing, investing in startups and projects that have the potential to change the world. We'll be discussing Mahbod's recent work, including his foray into media production and his role in the cryptocurrency community. Welcome to the stage, Mahbod Moghadam. So, with HelloDoge, what do you think makes it different at the moment from the majority of the large social media platforms?
Well, the plan with HelloDoge was that people get paid. I want to just do it very, very simple, but then the crypto gets in the way. Everyone's like, why is crypto involved? And I got sick of having to tell people it could be in dollars. We could just be paying you 80% of the money in dollars. So it doesn't seem like the crypto, the only real reason I thought crypto was cool, I thought it would just be a fun way to give people money. I thought if you're like, hey, here's 10 cents, people are like, well, I don't want 10 cents. But if you're like, hey, here's 1.5 Dogecoin, they're like, oh, hey, cool, I made 1.5 Dogecoin. So that's really the reason I got into Bitcoin back in 2013. But nowadays, the marketing did not go the way that I wanted it to go. I've been trying to make Bitcoin and crypto cool for about 10 years. And at this point, I'm ready to just throw in the towel.
So, follow-up question, if I can. The biggest part of HelloDoge as it is right now, in your opinion, would be the monetization factor, the way that people can get money from just posting, right?
Yeah, so with HelloDoge, the way it works is ads are $69 a month, and then we give 80% of it, which is $55 to the community. But the problem with that is I still need to go and find sponsors. Most of the sponsors have been businesses, like, Rome Telecoms, Underground Cellar. These are like big VC-funded startups that are our sponsors. So my new idea for Communistagram is to make it so that anyone can automatically boost a post. Basically, you pay $10 to boost a post, and $8 of that goes to the community. And I think that the website owners should just take a cut. You just take a 20% cut for having the website. And we don't need as much, there won't be a big staff, there won't be thousands of full-time workers for Elon Musk to fire. There won't be all these cool innovations, but you know what? I don't even want cool innovations. The internet's already cool enough. You can send words, music, pictures, and videos. That's all it is. And you can receive them too. And I just want to get paid for doing that.
Got you. So it's more of just about returning everything to the community and being more community-based than the major social media platforms.
Yeah, and I think that so Google wanted to pay people from day one. That's why the only website that's been paying people the whole time the internet's been around is YouTube. And the person who killed this idea of paying users was Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg's philosophy was, if we pay people pennies a day, it just makes them feel like they're working a worthless job. So it's better to gamify things. That's why the CEO of Rap Genius was against me giving people dollars for putting up the lyrics, but he had a point system called IQ. And I asked him if we could maybe send people a T-shirt if they get 100,000 IQ, but he wasn't even willing to do that. He thought any kind of exchange of the points for a material thing is going to make people think of it as work. And I don't think that's the correct view. I think right now the jig is up. People know that these evil billionaires are making a lot of money off of us. So it's not about the money that goes in your pocket. I think for a lot of users, I hope it's going to be about the philosophy of, I don't want to work for Mark Zuckerberg for free. Because that's the way I feel. I don't want to work for Mark Zuckerberg for free. Like I've been one of Facebook's top contributors since it came out.
Got you. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. It's coming more of just back to the people. People are realizing that these big social media networks are sort of scamming us. They're not giving us as much back as they should, and putting something like this out on the market is definitely, it's not a gimmick. It's a real legitimate way to get not only attention, but give more back to the community. So I appreciate that. Ben, I want to hand it over to you for the next question.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to add something to that real quick. I think that this is a great way to you're kind of encouraging the rest for people to open up their eyes to this and see that this is an option. And I think people will start asking, why is it now that we have to pay all these social media services when new social medias are coming out and they're offering to pay users. So I think that's really great. But I was really curious about Genius, Rap Genius, and your career with that. Could you tell us a little bit about your involvement with that, the early days? I'm really curious about the early origins.
Oh yeah, it was a magical time, but now it's funny. When Rap Genius came out, I was like, wow, this is so scrappy, we're bootstrapping and stuff. But now I look back on Rap Genius, we had this silver spoon handed to us. All of these decorated Silicon Valley investors and Y Combinator and stuff, and not doing that anymore. But in some ways, Rap Genius is a big letdown for me. On the one hand, the thing that I didn't make any money off of it, I'm suing them right now, so that kind of sucks. But also, it just didn't get as big as it could have been, and the main reason for that is because the community doesn't care. The community of Genius is very toxic. When we started Genius, I tried to become part of the Urban Dictionary community, and they kicked me out. I tried to define rap genius as a verb. I wanted to put on Urban Dictionary, hey, I rap genius that song. It's pretty cool. And they didn't let me. So I just felt the restrictions. I felt the restrictions with Wikipedia. I tried to get a Wikipedia page up for myself. They didn't let me do that either. So I wanted Rap Genius to be an open forum. Also, I wanted people to get paid for volunteering on Rap Genius. But neither of these came to pass. The CEO was very, very against paying users. Bitcoin came out. I told him, let's pay them in Bitcoin. He was not feeling that at all. He thought Bitcoin's pointless. And then when I left, they hired this evil gremlin who had interned for me. And he basically, when you hire a community manager, that community manager doesn't actually try to get more people to volunteer because he's always scared that you're going to fire him. So they actually try to make people go away. So Genius right now is very similar to Wikipedia and Urban Dictionary. It's just a lot of bullies. If you come and you just try to break down some lyrics, you're probably going to get your annotations rejected. Wow. So it's become quite dystopian. And part of the reason Genius was able to still maintain its popularity even with the dying community was because the artists themselves got involved. Verified accounts was my idea. It's also because one of our first investors was Nas.
Oh, yeah. No, I did see the photo on Instagram. Ben, if I could take over for a second, I think I've got a really pressing question.
Great, yeah.
So you mentioned that Wikipedia didn't let you put up our article on yourself. I relate to that sentiment because I've also written and published a book and got it published at Barnes & Nobles and Amazon, and I haven't been able to get my book on Wikipedia. So was one of the reasons for founding Everypedia and working on that for a number of years the fact that Wikipedia didn't have as good of a moderation system as it could?
Exactly. Yeah, that's why. I mean, Everpedia was not my idea. It was the co-founder's idea. But the reason it appealed to me was I want to make knowledge projects fun. I think you should get paid for contributing content. But B, I think that you should be encouraged to write more. And that's not the landscape we see on the internet. All over the internet, you see people getting banned and the ban hammer coming down. Like, we talk about it on social media, but on knowledge projects, it's even worse.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to become a Wikipedia contributor, I failed. I tried to become a Reddit contributor, I failed. Just all these rules, like, give me a break.
Yeah, the rules are a big part of it. And if Ben will allow me, I also want to ask a follow-up question. I've read that you worked with Brock Pierce. How was your relationship with him? Did you two get along?
Totally. Brock's the way Everpedia got $30 million. And Everpedia was the only app that built something on the EOS blockchain, which was Brock's blockchain. I don't really understand what that means. Like, this is where I started to become detached from crypto. What does it mean? We're building this on Ethereum. We're building this on Bitcoin. Like, the ordinals are building on Bitcoin. I still don't even understand what that means. It's like, yo, the only reason I invested, Balaji told me it's internet money. I thought, oh, cool. My CEO won't let me send people a check for putting up lyrics. Maybe he'll let me send them internet money for putting up lyrics because it's fun. That's the only purpose that Bitcoin really ever served for me. And then also, I guess, store of value like gold. But all of this smart contract stuff, building it on Ethereum, building it on Solana, NFTs, just the entire concept of NFTs, it's all complete bullshit to me. And then we've got DeFi, which sounds to me like a Ponzi scheme. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm a staker, but I'm not convinced. I think DeFi is, right now they're doing fake it till you make it, and I don't think they're ever going to make it. Because I think I don't think a computer can give loans. We tried to make a computer give loans in 2006, and it caused all of the banks to melt down and go bankrupt 2 years later.
Oh, yeah.
So for me, in 2006, they called it securitization. So I feel like DeFi is securitization 2.0. So I'm not really feeling any of this stuff. But yeah, back in the day, the one thing Brock agreed with me, that's the reason he invested $30 million, was that people should get paid for writing Wikipedia articles. I couldn't agree more. Like, at least we got that down. Maybe we could just pay them in dollars. Because Wikipedia is lying about being a non-profit. They get all of their money from Google. And when they ask you for donations, it's just marketing. It's fake. So don't ever donate to Wikipedia, please. Instead, just go buy some weed. Smoke weed.
Exactly.
Don't give them your money, because it's Googlepedia. Google just lies about it and pretends it's a non-profit.
Right.
Ben, you got any thoughts on that? Wikipedia lying?
I mean, I believe it. I've never once donated. I make sure to exit out of that little add-on. But I think you're completely right, and it is kind of ironic that whenever you Google anything, the Wikipedia article is literally the first thing Google puts in your face.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why Genius got burned too, is that Google steals Genius's lyrics. And our CEO, who I was beefing with about giving people Bitcoin, the one good thing he did, he was able to actually catch Google stealing our lyrics. He put markers in the lyrics. It was like on the front page of the news, but it still ended up basically ruining Genius's traffic. Had to sell Genius for basically zero money. I'm suing them now. But then the cool part is the Google versus Genius lawsuit is going to the Supreme Court this year. So
Crazy.
hopefully we can punish Google. I hate all of these big Silicon Valley companies. That's the main thing. I love the internet, but I hate that these people are making billions and billions of dollars off the internet because I don't think any of them deserve it. I don't think Mark Zuckerberg deserves it. I don't think the Google guys deserve it. I don't think Jeff Bezos deserves it. Nothing. So we just have to find a way to give that money back. And like, because Google was the one that was beefing with Genius, they were always my number one enemy. But the reality is Google low-key actually wants to pay people. It's the number one public enemy is Mark Zuckerberg. That's the guy who just wants to keep the internet for profit, give nothing to the users. Nowadays, Apple's punishing him. Like Apple basically put out all these, Apple made it so that you have to ask someone before you can track them. And that's basically ruining Facebook's business. And Facebook's panicking. Now they want to charge users. So I've got the answer. The answer is if you pay the users, then they'll let you track them. It's as simple as that. That's where on Communistagram, it's just going to say, yo, if you want to get paid, then allow us to track you. And everyone's going to be like, with pleasure, even if they're just getting pennies, because it's the philosophy. Right now, everyone, it's like 99% of people are choosing no for Facebook to track them, even though it means that you get less relevant ads. You get weirder ads. But the reason why 99% of people are picking no is because we don't want to give money to Mark Zuckerberg. It's just the principle of the thing. We feel like this guy is ripping us off.
Yeah, that's a lot to think on, especially because all of these companies, the major tech companies like Google, Facebook, Instagram, all of their profit is from selling the person who is using the platform by harboring that data and then giving it to people. So the relationship of the social media platform using the user's data in order to make money, if there was a way to make that reciprocal and work it on like a monetary thing, like the way that you're doing, I'm not sure what that alert is. I'll get it out of the way. I think that's a really new and innovative idea. I don't know what Ben thinks. Ben?
No, I think that was a great idea. I mean, like I was saying before, I think that, I think that this could be like this like jumping off point for hopefully a fall of like, these types of, technology conglomerates, or at least like a reshaping in how they, do things. I think that's really exciting. And like, it's the first time I've heard of something like this,
I hope it happens. Yeah, there were some efforts to pay users for using the internet in the past. The earliest one was swagbucks.com. That's actually been around since the 90s. And you basically watch commercials, and then the way they pay you is they give you Amazon gift cards. Like you watch 10 hours of commercials and you get a $5 Amazon gift card. But that's just not a way of making it fun. I think it's more fun if you can't just watch commercials. It should be like Instagram, and then you incidentally see the ads. So I actually just hit up the founder of Swagbooks. Wanted to tell him he's been my friend since back in the day. So I wanted to tell him about Communistagram, see if maybe he wants to join forces.
Mm-hmm. Just a brief note before we continue. Zoom is like sketching out right now. I don't know how to change the setting on it ending the meeting. If the meeting does end, I'll just rehost the room and send you the new link, Mahbod.
Yeah, no, Zoom, when it's free, they only let you do 30 minutes at a time.
Yeah. I noticed that, and I wasn't thinking it was going to be an issue earlier, but because me and Ben were here for a bit before, it's cutting short on time, and I don't want that. I'm not going to ask you thoughts on Zoom restricting meeting times, but just as a side note, to drift a little bit away from this topic and touch on other stuff, you mentioned that NAS was one of the major reasons why Genius got to the point that it was in the early days. What was like your relationship like knowing Nas and working with him for a little bit?
Nas was the third investor. Yeah, well, we had Y Combinator, and then after Demo Day, the first one was Ashton Kutcher, the second one was Troy Carter, and the third one was Nas. And Nas is the reason we launched verified accounts. He was all about it, but through investing in Genius, Nas became really good friends with Ben Horowitz, who was the Series A investor of Genius. And then now he's kind of just part of Silicon Valley. So he became part of the Silicon Valley. Nas got mad at me because in 2014, we were both angel investors in Coinbase. So in 2014, I asked him to tell his fans to buy Bitcoin. And he got very mad at me. He basically said, I don't give a shit about Bitcoin. I have zero interest. And I think even to this day, Nas does not care about Bitcoin at all, even though his investment in Coinbase made him more money than he's made from music. But shouts out to him. I guess I was always mad at Nas for not actually caring about Bitcoin, but now I see like maybe it's just because he's cool. And he was like, yo, cool people are not going to care about computer money. It's funny. He finally, on his album with DJ Khaled, he finally made a shout out to crypto in one of his songs. And the lyric was, he said, I'm Coinbase, the cryptocurrency Scarface. So he still didn't use the word Bitcoin. It would have even fit the rhyme better. He could have said, I'm Coinbase, I'm the Bitcoin Scarface. But he chose this ugly word, cryptocurrency, because low-key, Nas, the reason why Nas put that line, that was in the height of NFTs in 2021. The reason he put that lyric is he was thinking, oh, maybe I can issue some bullshit Nas NFTs and make more money off of that. That was every rapper. Like every rapper who I told them, yo, tell your fans to buy Bitcoin. None of them did it. Not a single one. But every one of them, when NFTs were hot, they hit me up. They're like, hey, how can I make my own bullshit NFTs? C'est la vie, you know. That's I think that's what really did for us.
Yeah. Ben, do you have any more questions? I mean, at the moment.
Well, yeah, I was just curious, like, so you basically said, you know, when it came to telling them about Bitcoin, like, none of the rappers were interested at all, but, like, do you have somebody that you would say was, like, the GOAT that you met through this? Like, that maybe you, like, do you have any active relationships with these people, like...
Oh, well, I mean, so Juicy J's manager would come to the Everpedia office a lot. That's why the CEO and I got to be in his music video. And in the music, the song, the music video was kind of like startup themed. So there's one part of the music video where they let us put like crypto code on, you know, there are like crypto Easter eggs in the music video. And then he went all out. He made his own album that was released as an NFT. But the one thing I wanted him to do, I got to talk to him so much, one of my favorite rappers, I kept asking him, yo, tell your fans about Bitcoin. Never. Any marketing he wanted to do for crypto, he didn't want to do it for Bitcoin. He wanted to do it for his own NFTs and stuff. By the way, one thing I gotta say, shout out to Nas. At least Nas didn't jump on the BS Bored Ape train, because I'm sure they were begging him. Because Ben Horowitz is Bored Ape's biggest investor, so I'm sure they were begging Nas to get a Bored Ape, and he was like, "No, I'm not gonna do this bullshit." And like, you know, Snoop Dogg used to be one of my favorite rappers, but the way he's made a embarrassment of himself with this Bored Ape crack, and he took his music off of Spotify because he wants to like release the NFT version. I'm like, you lost me, Snoop Dogg. But that's, you know, Nas made all of his money from investing in Coinbase, but from day one, he didn't give a shit about Coinbase. He only invested because Ben Horowitz told him to do it. As soon as it IPO'd, he sold all of his Coinbase. He's not interested in crypto. So maybe I should have learned in 2014, I was trying to get Nas excited about crypto. He told me it's BS. Maybe I should have been like, yo, I agree with you, Nas. But then again, I guess I'm happy I didn't sell all my Bitcoin in 2014 because that's the only reason I have any money.
Right.
I don't
It's
know
a
if
good time to
the
get into it.
I don't know if the Zoom time meeting is gonna cut us short, but Ben, were you gonna expand on that?
No, that was all I had to say. I just like that was an exciting time. I wish I would have known about that as like growing up. But I found out pretty much when everybody else did.
When Nas invested in us, he was in a really tough financial position because he had just gotten divorced from Kellis. I remember he was driving a Range Rover, which, like, for Nas, you'd expect that's like a soccer mom car. But we made him into ballers. Yeah, basically investing in that. His investment in Rap Genius didn't make him that much money, but the connections he got through investing in Rap Genius made him a fortune, made him more money than he's made his whole career.
Got
The
you.
moral of the story is invest in my apps. I'm like a good luck charm. I'm a lucky rabbit's foot. If you rub my tummy, it brings you good fortune.
Of course. I had another question. Not sure if we're going to be cut off, but even if, I think this is very interesting to ask. You've mentioned your working relationship with Brock Pierce just a couple questions ago. He ran as an independent presidential candidate against Trump and Biden. So I was curious what you thought of that, even in a satirical sense, and when you're going to be announcing your candidacy for U.S. president.
He got my vote, that's for sure. I was all about Kanye and Brock running. And I think that he ran as a basically symbolic thing to get people more interested in ranked choice voting, which I'm 100% for. That's how a lot of cities are doing their mayoral races now. And I think it's just been proven that it's a better way to do voting. So I would like to see ranked choice voting for president as well. So on election stuff, I definitely agree with Brock 100%. He's running for senator of Vermont now. So next Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, that's really interesting. The thing with ranked choice voting is the same applies to these big social media and tech companies. I mean, the only reason why it isn't a thing right now is that the establishment... Okay, great. Ben is trying to join right now, but he gave me permission to continue and go ahead from where we left off. So, as we were talking about ranked choice voting, I mentioned that it is something that is not commonly in place, mostly because the establishment disagrees with it. Do you agree with that sentiment? What are your thoughts?
I think it's definitely better. That's one thing ever since I was in law school. I think a better voting system. For me, a lot of it is just, do other countries do it? And if other countries do it, then I think we should copy. The best American legal ideas are just copy Europe, in my opinion.
As a European, I agree with that sentiment. Before you said "c'est la vie," and I couldn't help but notice the fact that you spent some time in France.
Yes. Yeah. Also, I was gonna say. I mean, I'm trying to launch Communistagram. I'm a socialist, and I'm not political necessarily. But one thing that's really, really bothered me about crypto is how it's becoming a Republican issue. I remember when Trump talked shit about crypto, I got so happy because I'm like, oh, thank God, now it's not going to become a Republican. And then in 2020, I was trying so hard to get Bernie Sanders to become pro-crypto. I was like, yo, we can use crypto to end poverty. But it just didn't work. You have the shady neoliberal Democrats who are in bed with Wall Street, like Elizabeth Warren. They're the number one haters on crypto. They say it's bad for the environment or whatever. And then Bernie Sanders, who you'd think he'd be down with something that could end poverty, like Web3, we were saying it's going to end poverty, but he didn't seem like he's interested in it at all. But then if you want something to be cool, Republicans giving you the vibe for it is not the way to make it cool. That's why all of the musicians and actors and stuff show love to the Democrats. And I think Brock understood that. Brock is definitely not a Republican. That's why he's living in Vermont right now. So I think part of the reason why he's running for Senate in Vermont is he wanted to, like, bring the Bernie Sanders energy. But I'm basically giving up. That's the thing. I was trying to get rappers and Bernie Sanders to show love to Bitcoin, and NFTs made me fail.
Yeah. I mean, emulating the senator from Vermont is definitely going to give him a long way. If you're going to run as an independent in any state, Vermont might be the way to go. I was going to change the topic completely, and since Ben is not here right now, pretty sure having internet issues of some sort, I was going to drift over to Kanye West, because I know that you're a big commenter on Kanye's posts on Instagram. I was curious what you thought, not only of his musical career and just him releasing Donda, but all the crazy shit that he's been, doing this past year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obsessed with Kanye West. That's my 15 minutes of fame was I got to go to his engagement party. And he was the other rapper who really became part of the Rap Genius crew. It was Nas and Kanye. They became best friends with the Rap Genius investor, Ben Horowitz. The funny thing about Kanye, though, he not only did he never invest, I don't think he's ever invested in any tech companies, because he invested in Turntable FM and it went under. So that kind of shook his confidence in investing in tech. But the other weird thing about Kanye is he never made a Genius account. So that kind of pissed me off. Like, he's inviting us to his engagement party, but he's not using our product. But then instead, a few months after his engagement party, he sent a redesign of the homepage to our CEO. So I guess he was trying to be a full stack developer or web designer or something.
He branches out in a lot of different directions, so sometimes it's hard to tell.
Yeah, I have very mixed feelings. And then also the funny thing is, so all the Zoomers, when we met Kanye and went to his engagement, that's when Yeezus came out. And I had just had brain surgery, and they forced me to go to like 5 Yeezus concerts. So when I hear the songs from that album, it makes me want to throw up, because they all sound really industrial. And they were like forcing me to listen to it. My head is pounding with brain surgery scars. And then now all of the Gen Z, they think that Yeezus is the best album of all time. It's like, bro, Yeezus is shit. And I don't like any of the last Kanye album I like is My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. I think his best album of all time by far is College Dropout. And just every year, downhill, downhill, downhill. Don't even get me started on Jesus is King. I can't believe anyone even listens to that. Or Donda. These are horrible. I liked what he said on Alex Jones, though. Like, I'm Jewish. I don't think he said anything anti-Semitic. I think it's ridiculous. Adidas is trying to cancel him when they were making shoes for, like, the Hitler's army.
Yeah.
So, fuck Adidas. Like, I've always hated Adidas because I'm Team Nike. Like, I don't think Adidas should even exist. I think the only shoes anyone should wear should be Nikes.
Oh yeah, Adidas is a German company. As a Polish man myself, I tend to stray away from that. I'm more into Nike myself, so I respect.
Yeah, I love Germany because I love the music, like Bach and Beethoven. That's all I play piano. That's my life. But I would not. I'll buy cars from them, but I'm not going to buy shoes from them. Hell no. And I remember we were actually in the bus. We were driving to Kanye's engagement party, and he was asking Ben Horowitz if he should sign with Adidas or Nike. And he said that Adidas is giving him more money. And I was like, no, Kanye, please don't do it. Please sign with Nike. I'm like, money doesn't matter. You need to be with good shoes. They're not going to make your shoes good at Adidas. And I think I'm right. Like, the Yeezus shoes, I think, are the ugliest shoes that have ever been made. I can't believe that anyone was buying them. That just shows how much power he has over his fans, especially over Gen Z. And now that they removed him, no one even wants to buy them for $20 each. No one wants to buy these foam Crocs. They're disgusting.
Same thing with like Balenciaga. The thing that made it big is the fact that Kanye was supporting it and giving his like own hand in the design. And because his fans are so after, his influence, that's what they were seeking. And they no longer have that after cutting him off.
Yeah, Kanye, the brand power he has, it kind of makes me angry. Even though, my only claim to fame is that I got to go to his engagement party. But yeah, the amount that everyone just worships him, the thing he did with Gap. Oh, by the way, another huge crypto bear. I'm sure Ben Horowitz tried to get Kanye to at least invest in Coinbase, but he just put his foot down. He didn't even have any interest in NFTs or anything.
Yeah, of course. So, as someone who has been not only into the crypto thing, because you mentioned that you've been trying to stray away from that, but a part of the whole internet community, you've mentioned that your only claim to fame was attending Kanye's engagement party, but in fact you've contributed a lot over the years to just the internet as a whole and tried to start a bunch of new projects. So in supporting other people's projects, how do you see if something is a good opportunity, especially these days?
Well, the only things I've ever invested in were Y Combinator companies. So even though I hate Silicon Valley, I still have a soft spot in my heart for Y Combinator. I don't know why. I think because they brainwashed me. But it's the one part of Silicon Valley that's kind of dedicated to hackers. Mm-hmm. And I do like the hacker mentality. It's like the guy who I built Genius with was a straight up hacker. He built the first version of Rap Genius himself overnight in 24 hours. So that's the kind of philosophy the Y Combinator supports. Whereas like the rest of Silicon Valley is like the fake ass kid who doesn't even know how to code and went to Stanford, and they want to talk to VCs before they even built a project. Mm-hmm. So that's the fake hacker. That's the Silicon Valley that I really hate. But at least Y Combinator is for like the real hackers. So I still, when I see a good company and they want me to invest, I tell them first do Y Combinator, then I'll invest, because I'm still brainwashed. And it's also because I went into Y Combinator. Mm-hmm. So it's the same reason why I believe in good colleges. Whenever I meet a smart high school kid, they're like, oh, should I go to college? Should I just drop out? I'm like, no, go to college, because I'm brainwashed. Like the only impressive thing on my resume is I went on to a good college. So I feel like if I did it, then other people should do it too.
Yeah, I agree with this sentiment, first of all, but second of all, it's funny that you mentioned Stanford, because I know that you've had your experience around those parts attending prestigious schools. What was that experience like, just being in college?
It's wonderful. I mean, right now I live basically on UCLA campus, and a lot of people think that I'm just trying to be a sketchy old man, like I'm here for the Tinder or something, but it's actually because I love learning, I love knowledge. So the whole notion of academia and the idea of, I really like the fact that we've decided the best place for people to learn is a big giant park. Because that's really what a college campus is. It's a giant park. And you can walk around there. You can smoke weed. The college I went to Yale for undergrad, and I went to Stanford for law school. And I like everything about Stanford more. The weather, the campus, the food. But the one thing Yale has is they have much better pianos. So for me, college was just all about you go somewhere nice and smoke weed, and then you go to a really nice Steinway piano and you play. At Stanford, I was going to a nice place smoking weed, and then I would go to the gym and work out. Mm-hmm. So someday, if I become a billionaire, knock on wood, God willing, I want to use a lot of that money to donate pianos to Stanford.
When you become a billionaire?
I always thought I'm going to become a billionaire because I thought Bitcoin's going to become worth $1 million. But mm-hmm. Now I'm losing all my faith. So I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to get a job or something. Hopefully communist Instagram can blow up.
Yeah. No, it's the same sentiment for me, and I believe a lot of other people that were interested in crypto. Not early on, as in those people that made a lot of money from it, but early on, as in when it was just rising, and there was a lot of hope for it, especially in like the recent years. But that was interesting, and it was the fact that you mentioned piano is what really interests me, because that was my next question, and I was just about to get into that. You post a lot of Instagram live streams and posts and stuff on Hella Doge that I see a lot whenever I log on to the site that's related to piano. How'd you get into it?
I lose a lot of followers. No one wants to see me play live, but it's fun. Sometimes someone appreciates it. That's just always been my passion. I've always been very, very passionate about music. And the two kinds of music that I actually do myself are piano and rapping.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still playing. Also, for me, it's a way to get my mental health, to keep my mentality in check, is playing the piano. Because I've had a very traumatic life, all this brain surgery and whatnot. The one cool thing, I'm always complaining that I had to have brain surgery, but one of the cool side effects was after the surgery, my piano playing got better. So, shouts out to my doctor.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Did you find that other areas of your life improved as well with the surgery?
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I shouldn't be complaining. I complain because I got mad. So the brain surgery happened right when Rap Genius was blowing up.
Mm-hmm.
And for 6 months after the brain surgery, they were forcing me to do stuff that I shouldn't have been doing. They kept forcing me to go to the Kanye concerts. And I'm like, I would tell the CEO, I'm like, yo, my head is pounding. I can't take it. He's like, no, you have to come. He was threatening me. And when I resigned from Rap Genius, I was going to sue them for employment law, for forcing me to do all this stuff when I just had a brain tumor. But then I felt bad. I felt guilty about suing. Now I'm full of regret. I wish I'd sued their ass. I'm suing them now because they sold it to someone for $0. They're basically trying to screw me over. But I guess basically the one lesson I have to anyone, if you're working at a startup, if you leave the startup and a lawyer says that they'll sue them for you, do it. Don't be like, oh, it's not respectable. Also, I don't like the whole thing of, I mean, right now I tell everyone that I'm suing Genius right now. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's not honorable. It's not honorable to sue your own company. That's not good that we send this message. I think we need to normalize suing and make it so that people feel comfortable. You have to, sometimes business miscarries justice. And the way you can get even is you take it to court.
Mm-hmm.
So sue their ass.
One really great analogy that I think it's great, but that's just my biased opinion, that I can come up with for this is someone either divorcing someone, like you see with Kanye or Kim Kardashian, or just breaking up with their girlfriend. One cannot say you can talk badly about someone you were once on good terms with, even though that person has done you wrong. So why would you take the position that you can't go against something that you were formerly a big part of when you see that thing heading in a bad direction? It's a similar procedure.
Also, I think that we need to stop stigmatizing divorce settlements.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people think that, oh, the moneymaker gets ripped off in divorces. That's not how I feel. I feel like if someone had kids with you, then they deserve half. Like when Jeff Bezos got divorced, everyone's like, oh my God, why did she get $50 billion? I think she deserves every penny of that money.
Yeah, she was there the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing with internet companies as well, because someone that could be around from the very beginning, just like you were, and had a big part in the company, could often leave and not get their fair share.
Yeah, I was reading the court case of FanDuel today. FanDuel, they took it all the way to court. And you hear about this a lot. The same thing happened with Tinder.
Mm-hmm.
Tinder, when evaluation is just a number you write on paper. Mm-hmm. So sometimes when they want to screw over a founder, they give a low valuation for 1 second, and then they just give money in other ways. Like, for example, when Genius was sold, the stocks became worth $0, but the CEO still gave himself a $13 million bonus. So that just shows all these numbers are fake. If someone wants to cook the books and just screw you over, that's what they do. That's what happened with FanDuel. They just decided that, they went all the way through a trial and it just got decided in my favor. That's what happened with Tinder. The founders of Tinder ended up suing their investor for $1 billion. They got a couple $100 million each. So it's not just me. There's a lot of founders who are the investors are trying to screw us over. But
Yeah, definitely a big sentiment. Just so we can come back from genius and go into more pleasant things, seeing as the company has gone in a direction that you wouldn't have wanted. Um, I wanted to circle back on the question about France because I was really curious about your time in Europe and your impressions of it.
I love France. The thing I'm proudest of about Genius is that Genius France gets more traffic than Genius USA. And it's all shouts out to Francois. Francois was the guy who started the Genius France community, and he was a Genius employee for 2 years. And then when shit started to get really corporate, he was like, I'm out. Because Francois is chill. He was a student when I started working with him. He was a student at Sorbonne, and he was living in a dorm where they raised their own chickens.
Mm-hmm.
So he's kind of a French hippie. So he wasn't into all the corporate BS.
Man, I like that. I like having chickens in your dorm.
That's the way to do it. Yeah, and that's basically in France. I basically just learned the simple ways of life.
Of course.
Like people were going to like 400 euro dinners. Americans going to 400 euro dinners. I can't afford that. But then my French roommates would take me to the countryside, and it would be like 10 euros for lunch. And the woman would bring us an avocado filled with crab.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like so simple, but it's so good. Like that, it's actually better food than you would get at Nobu. And I remember I used to be really into flashy clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I hadn't gone to France, I probably would have been into Balenciaga and all this crap. I remember the CEO of Everpedia, when Everpedia started making money, he spent all of his money on Louis Vuitton and stuff. I used to be into that kind of stuff too. But when I went to France, my friends I made there basically taught me, they're like, yeah, big names are not style. The real style is just wearing really old classic clothes, tailor-made clothes, things you get at a secondhand shop. So that's been my style ever since. Like before I went to France, thank God I didn't have any money. But if I had any money, I wanted Louis Vuitton, I wanted Balenciaga. But then when I went to France, I realized like, no, that's just the money that stupid Americans spend their money on. No actually sophisticated European person is going to pay $10,000 for a stupid purse. Mm-hmm. When they can go, instead they can wear their grandmother's purse, which was free, and it's 10 times more stylish. So that's what I learned in Europe, is basically that money is bullshit. What actually matters is having class.
Of course. Yeah, class is a very European thing, and sadly it seems like a dying thing here in America. Having been in the United States for so long, I can tell you that is the case. But I have been browsing around on Hello Doge for a while, and I've made a good amount of posts. I know you're a lot more active on there, as is your right, as one of the prominent figures on Hello Doge, and basically the lead guy pushing it forward. But I was curious if you were a bit more into history than the usual person, because I remember once making a post about Caligula, the Roman emperor, and you commenting on it that he tried to put his horse on the Senate.
Yes. Yeah, well, the movie about his life is pretty good too. But yeah, I was a history major in college, mm-hmm. and I was actually obsessed with World War II. I wrote my senior thesis on the Holocaust. Mm-hmm. Which is why when Kanye made his remarks that got canceled, I didn't think he was being anti-Semitic at all. I thought he was actually showing love to Jewish people, because you can't just ignore. That's actually the reason I went to Poland. I went to Poland because I wanted to visit Auschwitz after college. Mm-hmm. And Auschwitz turned out to be kind of boring, but I fell in love with Poland. I had such a good time in Krakow, and I was partying. I gotta go back. Also, someday I gotta learn your language.
It's a bit of a difficult language to learn, but if you ever need help, I'm here. Yeah, when did you visit Auschwitz?
That was when I was living in France in 2005.
Man.
The year after I graduated from college, I got a Fulbright to study Osama bin Laden in France.
Man, so you really haven't been to Poland in a while. Do you miss it?
I gotta go back. Now that I'm an adult, I haven't, because when I was living in Europe, I got to check out a lot of parts of. I also visited Dresden for World War II reasons. Slaughterhouse-Five, one of my favorite movies and books.
Of course.
But I haven't been back, only because of Rap Genius stuff. I got to go to France and Germany a couple times, but never really exploring. So someday I'd like to have a place to live, either in Paris or London. That's one of my goals. Right now I got New York and LA, but I'm still not balling enough to get the European pad. But
Kurt Vonnegut is a brilliant author, by the way. Just wanted to put that remark out there.
oh hell yeah, I love him and I love all of his books. But Slaughterhouse-Five for me. Also, the crazy thing is, the movie Slaughterhouse-Five, the soundtrack is by Glenn Gould, because that's the reason I play piano. He was this pianist who died in the 1980s. He's like totally insane, but he's a genius. I think the best pianist of all time is Glenn Gould. So it's kind of cool that one of my favorite movies just randomly has my favorite musician who did the soundtrack for it. One of the best movies of all time, I think.
Yeah, perfect. I was going to backtrack on that argument, not really argument, but that dream that you have to live in either Paris or London. I know an acquaintance of mine who has a pretty big YouTube channel of 2 million subscribers, and through the monetization and all the sponsorships and all, he's been able to move out of London to Dubai. And he said that the crime rate in London has increased to the degree where it is no longer comfortable for a person who's like willing to live independently to live there. So what arguments would you have for living in London versus living in Paris someday? Not permanently, just, as a vacation home, for example.
When people talk about cities having crime, I guess maybe it's because I'm not someone, I've never been scared. Like in New York City, I'm always walking across the Williamsburg Bridge at like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. I'm never scared because I feel like people are probably more scared of me because I look like a thug. So I wouldn't be too worried about that kind of stuff.
Some people,
especially
go on.
So
some people are more comfortable with it, some people are less. But what I found is that just these days, generally, people in the contemporary world, especially in social media, seem to be scared of everything. That's like become an increasing trend where people are just fear-mongering among one another. Is that an issue that you faced?
The thing I was always scared of was weed. Ever since I was a teenager. So one thing I bonded, the guys I started Rap Genius with, maybe they wouldn't want me to tell people this, but the year before we started Rap Genius, they got arrested for smoking a joint in Manhattan. And back then it was such a big deal. This was the year 2008. We launched Rap Genius in 2009. So in 2008, if you got caught smoking a joint in Manhattan, you had to go to court. And then I got mad at them because they hired attorneys. They spent $10,000 each on their attorneys.
Jesus.
Point for court for smoking a joint. And I was like, if you just go to court yourself, the judge is not going to put you in jail. He's probably going to give you like 5 hours of community service. But they did it. They spent $10,000 each on their attorneys. So that's just living in fear. Like when I was talking about college, college was nice because I got to smoke weed and play piano. But every time I was smoking weed, I had to look behind my back and just being nervous. So now that weed is 100% legal in both of the cities I live in, that's lifted a huge source of stress off my shoulder. Everyone else is scared about their car getting broken into or whatever, but I'm relaxed. At least I can smoke weed wherever I want.
Yeah, even though go on.
I don't know what the situation is in Europe, but I think that in London it's becoming more and more chill too.
Oh yeah, it's becoming more chill in a lot of cities. But even though it's become like a more predominant thing, and a lot of more people are smoking weed and accepting it as normal, you still see rare cases of people getting their business deals terminated or something over marijuana, which is crazy. Like, this was not recent, but I believe a couple years ago when Elon Musk went on Joe Rogan and his podcast for the first time, he got a lot of shit from the U.S. government for trying to smoke weed while on the podcast.
Terrible. Yeah, everyone's complaining about ChatGPT's biases, like the political biases. One thing I thought was interesting, I asked ChatGPT to write a poem about alcohol. It did it. I asked ChatGPT to write a poem about marijuana. It said I can't do it because it's illegal.
Oh my God, yes.
And I'm like, actually, I'm sitting here in California asking you this question, ChatGPT. It's perfectly legal here, so that really pissed me off. But I kind of think.
Yeah, I faced the same issue with ChatGPT's limits. So I was going to get to ChatGPT eventually, and I'm very curious what you think about it, but particularly in the censorship sense. Because even when I was using it, I tried to get it into like some dark topics and try to write prompts for like potential books or essays or something of the sort, because I would like to release content very frequently. And it found itself not being able to talk about it. So what do you think of that?
I think it's a big nothing burger. One thing that's really, I think it's funny but also sad, is all the fake crypto people are now becoming fake AI people. So everyone's like, oh, Mahbod's abandoning crypto now he's going to become a fake AI person. No, I won't. I think AI is bullshit too. I think that the power of robots is hardcore overestimated. For example, self-driving cars. I think about 5 or 6 years ago, I wrote an essay for the New York Observer saying that I think that eventually all cars are going to become self-driving. Okay. I really believe in self-driving cars. And now it just seems like it's never going to happen. So I think ChatGPT is going to do the same thing as self-driving cars. People think it's going to replace all of these content creator jobs. But just like self-driving cars weren't able to replace drivers, I think ChatGPT, as soon as you read a ChatGPT, like the first couple times, you're like, oh, wow, that's good. But then you start to realize all of the stuff sounds the same. Like every poem that it writes sounds kind of the same.
Yeah.
Even when you tell it to write in the style of different authors, it's just not my vibe. So I would never invest in I think OpenAI is raising money at $60 billion.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't invest in them at $1 billion.
Yeah. No, a lot of people share that sentiment. AI is a lot, it's being overhyped, even though it has potential. Especially in these big crypto social circles. I get where you're coming from. Again,
I'm very happy Vitalik came out on Twitter. He said that he thinks it's all BS. Mm-hmm. And again, that takes bravery from him because he's very connected with Silicon Valley. Yeah. And Silicon Valley is trying to blow smoke up ChatGPT's ass and make it sound like it's the second coming. So for Vitalik to just be like, no, I think AI is BS, that it reminds me why I'm an investor in Ethereum in the first place. I don't believe in NFTs, I don't believe in DeFi, but I do think that Vitalik is a really, really smart dude.
Mm-hmm. Circling back to a completely different question, which is something I tend to do a lot as a host, especially with guests like these. We talked earlier about Poland and France and Europe, and the fact that you studied a lot of history, and that you're obviously, more well-read than the average American, let's put it. I've recently finished reading a book on Caligula, and I'm considering reading Napoleon's biography as well. What do you think of Napoleon?
Napoleon was the CEO of genius. When a guy is 5'5", 5'6", they have this hunger in them that the CEO of genius built the first version of genius overnight. Mm-hmm. If he were 6 feet tall, he would never have built it. Mm-hmm. He would have tried to go and use his tallness to get funding before building the MVP. And that's why right now I'm really happy that short kings are making a comeback. We need to show respect. Also, one thing people don't know is that when you're shorter, you live a longer life.
Oh, yeah.
So, food for thought. When I was a kid, I found out about heights. Not a kid. When I was like in college, I found out about height surgery. I was like, oh my God, I want to get height surgery. I want to get height surgery. But then I built Genius with the CEO of Genius, and I'm like, wow, this guy's like 3 inches shorter than I am.
Yeah.
So if anyone needs height surgery, it's him. And I was like, wow, this guy's actually a sick-ass developer. So he made me increase a lot of my respect for short people. And for me, the CEO of Genius is basically the modern-day Napoleon. A lot of people don't know, but he's the one who started the beef with Bored Ape Yacht Club, too.
Oh, yeah. No, I heard about
Ryder started RRBAYC. The one who's famous for that is Ryder Ribs, but people don't know that the CEO of Genius is the guy who was actually coding the RRBAYC.
Mm-hmm. So I think because of time constraints and because of the 1 hour limit, we're going to have to wrap it up very quick. And looks like Ben's not going to be joining me on this one. But I did want to ask one of the pertinent questions that I've been thinking of. While you were attending the TechCrunch conferences, which is obviously a good few number of years ago, did you find it an uncomfortable experience, or were you more in your zone during that time, just networking with other people in the tech industry?
Oh man! So when that happened, that was my other 15 minutes of fame. It was my idea for us to wear sunglasses. Elon really didn't want to wear sunglasses, but Tom, see, my Napoleon guy, he was like, come on, it'll be cool, it'll be cool. So Tom forced Elon to wear sunglasses. I'm happy we wore the sunglasses. We were on at 9 a.m. No one was in the thing. And maybe they knew. I didn't know that everyone's going to be watching this on YouTube for the rest of my life. I thought people paid to go to Disrupt Live. So I'm like, okay, no one's here, so I guess we can just say whatever we want. So that's why we just didn't give a fuck. And then right after we finished the interview, I remember Ben Horowitz gave us all high fives, like, oh my God, that was so funny, that was amazing. And then the next day, all the news was like, these Rap Genius guys are tech bros. They're wearing sunglasses. How dare they? And then Ben Horowitz, suddenly he changed his tune. At first he was like, oh, high five, that was so funny. But then when the bad press came in, he's like, oh, maybe you guys should not make as many jokes. He starts to tell us, he's like, you know, the founder of Instagram, he never makes any jokes. He's not even funny. I'm sorry. I can't just be a normie like the founder of Instagram. I've got to be entertaining. Sorry, Ben.
Of course. And then you've got your own ideas on where the social media industry should go. And you're obviously...
I'm happy with sunglasses, but the main reason I'm pissed about that TechCrunch interview, and I'm pissed that still is the picture everyone uses of me, it's the video everyone watches of me, is that was the one time in my life I had really, really bad acne on my forehead. Mm-hmm. And the reason I had that acne is because at that time I was abusing uppers. I was taking a lot of Adderall, I was taking a lot of Vyvanse, and I was definitely drinking a lot of coffee. Mm-hmm. So that's why one of my goals in life ever since that TechCrunch interview, I'm always just trying to get people to stop taking uppers. Even if you code, I don't think anyone should take Adderall or Ritalin, and honestly, I don't think anyone should drink caffeine because it gives you zits. And like, that was the worst time in my life. Mm-hmm. Not because of all, Rap Genius was in the news. In some ways that was good, in some ways that was bad. But the main reason why I was sad is because I had acne on my forehead. You could be a billionaire, you could be the happiest person in the whole world. If you have acne on your forehead, you're miserable. Or you could be homeless, but if you have clear skin, then hey, at least you have clear skin. That's all that matters to me is clear skin. So that's why young people, if you're listening to this, don't drink coffee, don't take Adderall, just smoke weed. The only drug that doesn't give you zits is weed. That's Perfect. Why I'm such a big supporter of it.
Perfect. Since I'm going to be wrapping up anyway, one more question. Oh, okay. One more question that I was going to ask on behalf of Ben. He was going to ask if you've ever taken the 16 personalities test and what your personality type is and whether you believe in it.
Is that like ENJF, IN?
Yeah, all of that crap.
No, I should take it. I always just like randomly, but if people ask me about it, I just randomly say letters. I'm like, oh, I'm a GYFB, and they're like, wait, I don't know that one. Like, oh, sorry, I mean INTJ.
Yeah, of course. A lot of people seem to like get so much into it, and a lot of other people get confused. It's just another one of those systems.
All I know is that I'm a Scorpio, and for that, all I gotta say is shouts out to Drake. He's the best musician alive right now. He wrote the album Scorpion. That's every year when it's close to my birthday, I'm bumping that at the gym.
Perfect.